I never thought I'd be the guy writing something like this, but here we are. My name's Dave, and I've been with my wife, Lisa, for about 10 years now. We have two kids, a boy and a girl, who are both into swimming. Lisa's always been a bit of a bitch, honestly. She's the type of woman who's always full of excuses, quick to lie, and never takes responsibility for anything. We've had our problems, but I really thought we were solid. Until recently, when I started noticing little things that didn't add up. It all started about 2 months ago. Lisa suddenly became obsessed with the kids' swimming schedule. She was never that into it before, but suddenly she's driving them to practice all the time, dropping hints about how important it is for their future, acting like she's their biggest supporter. But it wasn't just that. She started dressing differently, more provocative, tighter clothes, wearing makeup when she normally didn't bother. She also started staying out later than usual, claiming she was meeting friends. But I knew she didn't have friends that stayed out till midnight on a weekday. At first, I shrugged it off. Maybe she was just going through a phase. But then I noticed her phone constantly buzzing, her hiding it from me, and her being secretive about her texts. One night I caught her in a lie about where she was. She said she was at her sister. But I found her phone's GPS location showing she was near the swim club. That's when I started to get suspicious, especially after I saw her leave the house late at night and come back looking flushed, acting strangely defensive when I asked her about it. That's when I decided to do some digging myself. I started paying attention to her routines, her phone, her schedule. I didn't have concrete proof yet, but I knew something was wrong. Then last week, I decided to check the security cameras at the pool just on a whim. I'd heard rumors that they had cameras in the locker room after practice, and I thought maybe I could find something there. Honestly, I didn't expect to find what I did. I didn't think I'd catch her cheating on me. When I finally managed to access the footage, my stomach dropped. There she was, my wife Lisa, in the locker room with Coach Miller, one of the swim coaches, a guy in his late 30s. They were in a corner, practically pressed against each other, and from the angle I could see her hand on his leg as they whispered. But that wasn't all. After a few minutes, they disappeared behind a row of lockers and I saw them go in together. I couldn't believe my eyes. My wife, the woman I married, cheating with that fucking coach during private lessons she'd been insisting on for the kids' benefit. I replayed the footage multiple times, trying to process what I was seeing. I felt a strange mixture of rage, sadness, and disbelief. This wasn't just a flirtation or a one-time thing. They were clearly having sex in that locker room, or at least that's what it looked like. I felt sick. How could she lie to me for months? How could she betray me like this? I didn't even know what to do next. I just sat there staring at the screen, trying to keep my composure, knowing that this revelation was going to change everything. After watching that footage, I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. For a few seconds, I just stared at the screen, my mind racing. I kept replaying their faces, their hands, the way she was pressing against him like she needed him to feel loved or validated. It was so clear that this wasn't just some innocent fling. This was real, raw, and disgusting. I could see the way she responded to him, so eager, so hungry for whatever they were doing behind those lockers. All the lies she'd told about working late, meeting friends, helping with the kids' homework, all of it was bullshit. The initial shock turned into a deep, burning anger. I wanted to scream, to break something, but I knew I had to stay calm. I felt my fists tighten as I watched them kissing and touching in that hidden corner. I'd always trusted her, believed in her. We had good times, bad times, but I thought we were solid. Turns out she was just playing me, hiding this secret affair in plain sight. The next day, I couldn't even focus at work. My mind kept going back to that video. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, so confident, so manipulative. I felt humiliated, betrayed, and honestly furious. I kept thinking about all the times she'd belittled me, called me paranoid when I brought up my suspicions. She's always been good at lying, at covering her tracks. I realized she's a professional at hiding her bullshit. That night, I decided enough was enough. I couldn't let this fester in my head anymore. I needed to confront her, get some answers, though honestly, I already knew the truth deep down. She was cheating and she had been lying about everything. I set up the talk for the next morning. I told her I knew about her affair with Miller, that I had seen the footage, and that I wanted her to come clean. I thought she'd deny it, throw out some excuses or blame me for being paranoid. But she didn't. When I showed her the video, her face contorted into a mixture of anger and disbelief. She looked like she'd just been caught in a trap she couldn't escape from. She started to lie, of course, saying that it was just sex, that it meant nothing, that she was only lonely and stupid and made a terrible mistake. She called me crazy and claimed I was overreacting, that she loved me and the kids and that she'd stop seeing him. But I could tell she was lying even as she spoke. I felt my heart pounding in my chest. On one hand, I was furious at her, but on the other hand, I was devastated. I'd built a life with her, trusted her completely, and now I was wondering what was real anymore. I wanted to believe her, I really did, but I knew better. There's no way someone like her, so manipulative and bitchy, just makes a mistake like this. No, this was deliberate, planned, and it cut me to the core. I realized in that moment that everything I thought we had was probably a lie. She had been lying to me for months, maybe longer. I told her I needed some time to think, that I couldn't just forgive her right away. She seemed stunned, like she didn't expect me to confront her so directly. That's when I realized she thought she could keep this secret forever, that I'd never find out. Well, she was wrong. I wasn't going to be that guy who takes betrayal quietly. I wanted her to feel the pain of what she'd done, to understand that I wasn't going to let her get away with this. I told her I'd be sleeping in the guest room that night, and I did just that, lying there and feeling more alone than I ever had in my life. The next few days were a whirlwind of anger, confusion, and a deep sense of betrayal I couldn't shake. I kept replaying that video in my head, every detail seared into my mind. I thought about the way Lisa lied so effortlessly, how she insisted she loved me, how she had no remorse when she said it meant nothing. Yeah, right, I knew better now. That nothing was her giving herself away piece by piece with every glance, every touch, every lie. I stayed in the guest room, trying to keep my cool but failing miserably. Every time I looked at her, I saw the woman I'd married, the woman who used to make me feel like I was the only man in the world. Now all I saw was a manipulative, selfish bitch who'd been screwing around behind my back for who knows how long. I couldn't sleep much those nights, replaying every argument, every fight, wishing I'd seen the signs earlier. But honestly, how could I have? She's always been good at hiding her true self behind a mask. The hardest thing was seeing her play the victim. She'd cry, beg, say she was stupid, that she made a terrible mistake. She tried to tell me that it was just sex, that it didn't mean anything, like that somehow made it okay. That made me so angry I almost lost it. I told her I didn't want to hear her excuses. I told her she was a liar, a cheat, and that she'd destroyed whatever little trust we had left. I felt like I was losing my mind, but I also knew I couldn't keep pretending everything was normal. One day, she tried to manipulate the situation further. She came into my room looking desperate and started crying about how she loved me and the kids, how she was so sorry, how she'd do anything to fix this. She begged me to forgive her, swearing she'd never do it again. But I looked right into her eyes and told her I didn't believe her, that if I stayed, I'd be living in a house full of lies, and I didn't want that. I told her that I needed space to think, to figure out what I wanted, and she left the room in tears. Honestly, part of me wanted to believe her, but another part knew better. She was a master at lying, and I had enough. Meanwhile, I started talking to some friends about what I'd found. Some said I should just leave her, cut my losses, and protect myself. Others told me I should try to work through it, maybe go to therapy together. But honestly, I wasn't sure I could ever forgive her, not after what I saw. That video, her lies, her manipulations, all of it cut so deep. I didn't want to be that guy who stays in a marriage built on lies. I felt like I was suffocating, drowning in my own heartbreak. The thing that really hurt was realizing how much I had trusted her, how I'd believed she was this strong, independent woman who loved her family. Turns out, she was just pretending to be that person. She's always been bitchy, dismissive, quick to blame others. This whole situation just revealed her true colors. It's like I was living with a stranger all along. I kept asking myself, how could she do this? How could she lie so convincingly? And more importantly, what do I do now? I felt frozen, stuck between anger and sadness with no clear way out. The days blurred together after that. I kept going over everything in my head, trying to find some clarity, some reason to hold on or let go. But honestly, the more I thought about it, the more I realized that trust was broken beyond repair. Lisa's lies ran deep, and her cheating was just the final nail in the coffin. I still couldn't believe she'd lie so blatantly, so brazenly about something so damn obvious. That video was proof that she didn't care about me, about us, about the vows we took. I remember the moment I decided I needed to take control of this mess. I couldn't keep living in limbo, wondering if she'd come clean or keep lying. I knew I had to do something drastic, so I started planning my next move. I wanted to confront her again, but this time with a clear plan. I wasn't going to get caught up in her tears or her excuses anymore. I wanted to make her see how badly she'd screwed up, how much she'd hurt me and the kids. I began gathering more evidence, checking her phone, her emails, her social media. I wasn't planning to forgive her, but I needed to be thorough. I wanted her to realize that I wasn't the kind of guy who'd just forget a betrayal like this. I also reached out to a lawyer, just to get my legal options straight. I wanted to make sure I was ready for whatever came next. I wasn't planning to rush into anything, but I wanted to be prepared. Meanwhile, Lisa was trying her usual manipulative tactics. She'd come into the room begging, crying, saying she'd do anything to fix things. She insisted she loved me, that it was just a moment of weakness, that she was stupid and lonely. She called herself a bad person, but I saw through it. That wasn't remorse. That was guilt, trying to manipulate her way out of punishment. She kept lying, spinning her stories, trying to convince me she was the victim, but I wasn't buying it anymore. I'd had enough of her bullshit. One night I finally lost it. I told her that I knew everything about the affair, about her lies, about her manipulations. I told her I'd had enough of her games, that I was done pretending everything was okay. I said I was going to file for divorce, that I wanted her out of my life for good. She started screaming, calling me names, saying I was overreacting, that I was ruining everything. But I didn't care. I knew what I wanted now. I wanted her gone, and I wanted her to face the consequences of what she'd done. That moment was like opening a door I'd been trying to keep shut for months. It was painful, but it was also freeing. I realized that I deserved better than a wife who cheated and lied to me. I deserved someone who respected me, who valued our family. And if she wasn't willing to do that, then I had to walk away. That's what I decided. I would rebuild my life, even if it meant starting over from scratch. The betrayal had broken something inside me, but I was determined not to let it destroy me completely. I wanted to be strong for my kids, for myself, and to never let a woman like Lisa manipulate me again. The next few weeks were a roller coaster. I finalized the divorce papers, and honestly, it felt like a relief to finally put an end to the charade. Lisa was furious, of course. She threw her tantrums, begged me to reconsider, swore she'd change. But I saw through her. All her tears and pleas were just her trying to hold on to the life she'd been secretly ruining. I knew she wasn't sincere, not really. She lied so much and so convincingly that I couldn't trust her for a second. I moved out of the house, taking the kids with me for the time being. It was the hardest thing I'd ever done, seeing her face as I packed my things, knowing she'd thrown away everything we'd built. But I couldn't stay in that toxic environment, not when I knew the truth about her. I wanted my kids to see that I was doing what was best for us, even if it hurt her. I wasn't going to let her manipulate the situation anymore. I wanted to rebuild my life, and that meant cutting her out of it completely. The aftermath was brutal. Lisa kept trying to contact me, texting, calling, even showing up at my new place. But I blocked her every way I could. The trust was gone, and I knew that the only way forward was to keep her at arm's length. My friends told me I was brave, that I did the right thing, but honestly, I still felt a deep pain, like part of me had been torn away. I kept thinking about that video, about the lies, about how she'd betrayed everything sacred in our marriage. It was a lot to process. What really hit me was realizing how much I'd let her manipulate me for so long. I'd been blind to her bitchy, selfish nature, and I'd always blamed myself for not seeing the signs earlier. But now I saw everything clearly. She was never the woman I thought she was. She was just a master at pretending, at lying, at hiding her true self behind that bitchy, manipulative exterior. I learned that trusting blindly was a mistake, and I'd never do that again. From now on, I promised myself I'd be more cautious, more aware. In the end, I learned that revenge does fix everything. It doesn't bring peace or happiness, but standing up for myself, walking away from her, that was the only way I could start to heal. I realized I deserved better. I deserved someone who didn't lie or cheat, who loved me for who I was and not just for what I could give her. The pain will stay for a while, but I know I'll get through it. I have to, for my kids, for myself. That's what I keep reminding myself every day. I'm stronger than this betrayal. And someday, I'll find happiness again, far away from the lies and the bitchy manipulations of a woman who never really loved me. Would you like me to keep going with the final part? Looking back now, I realize this whole ordeal has changed me in ways I never expected. At first, I felt shattered, completely broken by her betrayal, by the realization that the woman I married had been lying and cheating behind my back for months. It's hard to admit, but I felt humiliated, angry, and lost. The trust I'd placed in Lisa was shattered, and I wondered if I'd ever be able to trust again, not just her but anyone. That feeling of betrayal hits deep, and even now some nights I lie awake thinking about what I missed, what I should have seen, what I could have done differently. But over time, I've come to see this as a turning point. That experience, brutal as it was, forced me to confront some hard truths about myself and the kind of life I want. I learned that staying silent or pretending everything is fine only prolongs the pain. Facing the truth, no matter how ugly, and taking control of your life, that's what really matters. I've become more cautious, more aware of the signs I once ignored. I've also learned that sometimes walking away is the bravest thing you can do. My kids are my anchor through all this. Seeing them smile, knowing I'm trying to give them a stable, loving environment keeps me going. They don't need to know all the details yet, but I want to shield them from the worst of it. I want them to see that even in the face of betrayal, you pick yourself up and keep fighting. That's what I'm trying to teach them. I owe that to them, and honestly to myself. As for Lisa, I hope she figures out what she lost, what she threw away by being so selfish and manipulative. Maybe she'll realize one day how much she destroyed, and maybe she won't. But that's not my concern anymore. What matters is that I've reclaimed my dignity and started to rebuild. I'm not the same man I was before, and honestly, I don't want to be. I want to be better, stronger, more aware. This whole experience has been a brutal lesson in trust, betrayal, and resilience. I'm proud of myself for walking away, for choosing to protect what little self-respect I have left. It's been a hard road, but I truly believe that I'm better off alone than stuck in a life-filled marriage. The pain will fade with time, and I'll find happiness again. This time with someone who truly respects and loves me, not someone who manipulates and cheats her way through life. So, if there's anything I want others to take from my story, it's this: trust your instincts. Don't ignore the red flags because you're afraid of being alone or hurting someone else. And when you see betrayal, don't waste time trying to fix something that's already broken beyond repair. Protect yourself, learn from it, and move on. You deserve honesty, loyalty, and genuine love. Anything less is just a lie you don't need to live with anymore.